So what I want to do here is just take a few minutes to give you some instruction on how we would like the breakout groups to go. And then we'll have you disperse into the various locations. One of the things that you'll want to be aware of is that if you take your name tag and look at the back of your name tag, you should see two numbers. One number is just a regular number. The other number is a Roman numeral. So first of all, while we're waiting for people to come in, let's just have a check of the name tags to make sure that each person has two numbers on the back of their name tags. Please say yes. Okay. Is there anybody who doesn't have two numbers on the back of your name tag? Okay, that's great, because those are your assignments, and we did take the liberty of assigning you because we felt fairly confident in our understanding of your expertise and interests from your position papers, also from knowing you as well. And then I'm going to talk about something known as other point of view. So some of you have actually been placed in a breakout group that may not be your first choice, but we've done that on purpose because we trust you to be sort of a liaison or a diplomat or an ambassador to that breakout group. So let me go into a discussion here of what we mean by the breakout groups, how we're going to structure this. So one of the things about breakout groups that's very important is it's a way for us to make decisions. And again, you're here for your benefit, but also to help us at Esri. And we can't thank you enough. We at Esri need help with making decisions about what we're going to focus on and how we're going to do it. And so the breakout groups are going to give us a way to start to continue this process. Now, decisions will evolve with time, so they're going to be things that will change, maybe even certainly from year to year. And so as we continue to work with you on these topics that we are discussing, that we're going to discuss in the breakout groups, that's going to be an ongoing process. But we're going to start off with two tools in the breakout groups to help with our strategic decision making. Now, this was a nice cartoon that I got from a colleague, and I'm not going to say whether that is an Esri employee or whether it's a scientist. You can go either way. But we're going to use two methods that I learned about at a science communication leadership workshop that have worked really, really well. One is called PMI, plus, minus, and interesting. The other is OPV, other point of view. And we're basically going to focus on PMI in our breakout groups. The other point of view is just something that's going to enhance the PMI process. So PMI, this comes from Lateral and Creative Thinking Strategies developed by Edward de Bono, and you can read about him on Wikipedia. He's a worldwide expert on these techniques. P is for plus, M is for minus, and I is for interesting. So you're going to think about positives, negatives, and what's interesting about either one of those as we go into our breakout groups. This kind of approach, in terms of thinking about the pluses and the minuses and the interestings, is, of course, helping us to see both sides of a premise or a proposition or a position. And we are going to give you a premise to work through today for your breakout groups. We're going to give you another premise to work through tomorrow. And the power of this is that every breakout group is going to be working from essentially the same premise, so that we have some clarity, some standardization across the board, even though we will be talking about variations on themes, such as today it's going to be disciplinary, where we'll have marine ecologists together, marine geologists together, and so forth. Of course, you can view things from a different point of view, and this is where the other point of view, the OPV, is going to be important. And you may have one OPV person embedded in your group. Of course, we want to be able to think broadly about an issue. And so I'm going to give you some instruction in terms of you want to go through all of the pluses first. You want to exhaust in your group everything about the pluses that you can think of before going to the minuses. So that is meant to help you think as broadly as possible about the different alternatives and to help you to suspend judgment, at least until the end of that particular breakout group, and hopefully to help us at Esri, and also to help you in your thinking, but mostly for us to make informed decisions about where we're going from here. So again, you start with a proposition, a question or a subject. You go through and think about all of the pluses having to do with that proposition. And in your breakout rooms, most of the rooms will have a whiteboard, so you can use all the space that you want on the whiteboard. We have been a bit crunched in terms of our space in our facility, and we've not really held a meeting like this before with breakout groups. So we hope that we can make this work. 2 breakout groups will actually be here in the auditorium. We have space upstairs, so to speak, on either side. You'll have a whiteboard like this, and you can write as much as you want on the whiteboard, on the flip chart. And of course, you can tear off these and take these with you, because we'll have people come back to report. So anyway, you fill in your pluses. So one proposition might be, how has GIS served the needs of marine ecology? What are the pluses of that? We've heard about pluses and minuses with regard to that already. What are the great things that GIS has been able to lend to marine ecology, or to marine geology, or to physical, and we've had to lump physical and chemical oceanography, ocean observing, and so forth, fisheries, coastal marine spatial planning. So that's where today's breakout groups are coming from. You exhaust all of the pluses and then go to the minuses. Please don't go to the minuses until you have no more pluses that you can think of. So it's very structured in that way. I'm sure there'll be variations on this, and it will depend on the makeup, the personalities in your breakout groups, but that's human dimension, so we'll leave that up to you. But please try to not start on the minuses until you go to all of the pluses. Record all of the ideas that you can. Any idea could be a good idea. There's sort of like there's no such thing as a stupid question kind of a situation. So this reminds me that in your breakout groups, we would like the invitees, the scientists, to choose the leader for that particular breakout group. So just do that among yourselves. You will have Esri staffers in your breakout groups, but we would not like the Esri staffer to guide that process. We want that to come from you, those that we have invited. So choose among you who you would like as a leader for your group. Also choose among you, or maybe have someone volunteer to be a recorder for the group. So someone who likes to take notes, someone who is willing to take as many notes as possible throughout the session, and to help share that afterwards. You will all of the breakout groups will come back together, as is normally the case with these kinds of workshops, and then the leader normally reports to the entire group, what were the final discussions. So I'll get to more about that in a few minutes. So you've got your pluses, your minuses, and then anything that's interesting, any kind of point or issue that is of interest, you can add that, or you can mention that at any point in your discussion. So as you're making your pluses, an interesting thing might come up. As you're doing your minuses, it's also a good opportunity for the other point of view to be used there for some ideas. Once you've exhausted that, you've got all your pluses, you've got all your minuses, you've got interesting things, then of course we need that to be harvested. And by harvesting, you'll have your whiteboard or your flip chart. You'll have somebody taking notes within the group. Need you to prioritize. So you may have, let's say, 10 pluses. You may have 15 minuses. We'd like for you to prioritize and choose the top 5 pluses and the top 5 minuses and report that back to the group. That will, I think, save us all time. Not that the other things that were on your pluses and minuses would get dropped off, but it also forces you as a group to build consensus as to what is really, really important. What do you think is really, really important, especially for Esri to take note of. And then, of course, we'll have everybody come together at 3:45 to report back. So on your schedule, I still have a few more things to say here, but on your schedule, you will be in breakout groups until 3:30, and then you'll have a break from 3:30 to 3:45, and we'd like everybody to be back at 3:45. I want to mention also that while you are in your breakout groups, you know, from now until 3:30 is a long time. So if you want to take a break during your breakout group time, of course you can do that as well. It will be up to you in your groups and who you choose as your leader. So let me just go through this with some different graphics for you. So you start with a premise as either a proposition or a question. And today we're going to give you a question: how has GIS served the needs of blank? So you start with your P's and you make your list of all of the pluses, accept all the ideas from the group until you got that all exhausted. Then you move on to the minuses and you make your list of all of the minuses, accepting all of those ideas. You add your I's or your interesting things whenever they occur. And then you will get as many of those as you can, and then prioritize for the top 5, especially as you are thinking about the other points of view or the other ideas. Again, the evaluating part is that's part of prioritizing for your top 5, what's really important. So let's do a practice here. So this is a premise. All steering wheels should be fitted with a spike to aid road safety. So we're just going to do this really quickly. What are the pluses of this? Anybody? I'm sorry? And why is it an incentive for safety? Why aren't you going to have an accident? That's right. So you're going to be very careful. You're going to sit still in the seat. Another one. Yeah, so bad drivers impaled. Another one, people will likely drive more slowly. I'm going to put that, drive slowly. Okay, what's one more? Fashion, interior design. Yeah, interior design, increase interior design options. Okay, so you can get your spike in gold or metallic blue or red to match your interior. Okay, so that's great. So I'm going to cut this short because of time. So let's say that we have, these are all of our pluses. Now, what's a minus? Okay, instant death is possible. Excellent. How to use the horn. Okay, another one. Okay, killed by other bad drivers. And Cindy? Killed by others. And this spike could also be on the front bumper as well. You can think about this. So that's definitely a way to get killed by others. And snags of clothing. Okay. Oh my gosh, yeah, no airbags. Okay, great. So we've got our pluses, we've got our minuses. So that's interesting. That's an interesting, I'll just put that on the side here. Passenger side. Passenger spike. And another interesting idea that I thought of is, how to legislate this from a government standpoint. Is this going to be something that would be a federal regulation, or would it be just up to the states? So federal versus state. So specifications. So that's a good one, because I think in terms of car designs, all the car manufacturers will have to redesign their interiors if this was something that was legislated for public road safety. So there you have it. You got pluses, you've got minuses. If we had more time, we've got some interesting things here. We could prioritize what are the top 2 things that we want to put forward, maybe to a highway commission or to AAA or a local drivers group. And probably the points about deaths, either plus or minus, would be very would be very germane to the discussion. And in fact, that's where the other point of view comes in, because we have been thinking about this from the standpoint of drivers and also perhaps law enforcement or perhaps auto clubs such as AAA. But what's another point of view that we might add to this discussion? Well, another point of view might be from the standpoint of hospitals, emergency room doctors. Are they going to see, how are they going to be able to treat people coming into the emergency room with spikes in their heads or their chests and so forth? I'm sorry? Yeah, it could become a new medical specialty. That's very interesting. So from the standpoint of another completely different point of view, that could add something very interesting to your discussions here. So do you get the kind of the gist of what we're heading towards here? I chose a completely bizarre example here just to have some fun and to give you some guidance as to how this would work. But it's extremely easy, and in this case, it was extremely fun. So that's something that is really important as you work in your breakout groups. Other point of view, just a few points here. Other point of view kind of speaks for itself. But in terms of our breakout groups, you might be a group of marine ecologists, and we may have sent a physical oceanographer or a marine geologist into your group to provide that other point of view. Or you might be all university researchers, and there may be somebody in your group who works for a private company or who works for a government agency. So that kind of different perspective can be extremely helpful to the discussions. So just make sure to add those to your PMI as you're moving through. So we've already done that. So here's your premise for today. So let me move this out of the way. So we're going to use, instead of the proposition, which was in this case, all steering wheels should be fitted with road spikes to improve road safety, should be fitted with spikes on steering wheels to improve road safety. Here we're going to give you a question instead as your premise. Very simple and straightforward, we hope. How has GIS served the needs of? And then we have the different groups: marine geology and geophysics. We've grouped physical, chemical, oceanography, and ocean observing systems together. Marine ecology, fishery science, coastal and marine spatial planning. So those are the 5 breakout groups, and when you look on the back of your name tags, you should see a regular number 1 to 5, and so that will tell you what group you're in. Remember, as you go through your PMI process, make sure, again, to choose a leader, to choose a note taker, and at the end of your time, towards the end of your time, prioritize the top 5 Ps and the top 5 Ms. And so in terms of our places where we're going to be, the marine geologists and geophysicists will be up on the 3rd floor. Our apologies, but we really, with other meetings going on, we've lost access to some of the rooms here. So we found a room on the 3rd floor. Someone will guide you up to Q3WA. Don't worry about that. Esri people know what that means, though. That's on the 3rd floor of this building, and you have a conference room there where you can meet. The chemical, physical, ocean observing people will be on either this side or that side. There's a sign up there to tell you which space you have, as well as the marine ecologists will be on the other side. So whichever side So that's the chemical, the ocean observing folks are there. The marine ecologists are up here. Fisheries will be in briefing room D, so that's directly as you go out the door, just hang to the left and you'll see the signs to briefing room D. Coastal and Marine Spatial Planning is in briefing room B. So you'll be in your briefing rooms again until 3:30. If you want to take a break within that time, that is fine. I also want to let you know that today we are focusing on the disciplines. Now, you can talk about NetCDF and HDF and OpenDAP and 3D and all of that. That may tie into the discussions that you have, but it would be nice if it did not dominate your discussions today. Let's just talk about the disciplines, the kinds of science that you do, the science questions, the hypotheses, the needs, especially as they overlap into policy. Jim? Yes. Yes, that's a very good question. Thank you. So by GIS here, we're talking about GIS writ large. Of course, we would also like to have it be focused on Esri GIS too, so that we can get some guidance as to how Esri software can be of better help to marine ecologists. Pat has already given us some great feedback, Pat and Lisa, and they focused on marine ecology, but yes, it can be writ large. Whereas tomorrow's breakout groups are going to be much more focused on technology solutions. So today we're talking about gaps in the disciplines. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about bridging those gaps with specific technological approaches. And that's where things are going to be even more germane to Esri GIS. So tomorrow, your breakout groups are going to be multidimensional data. So these are the NetCDF, HDF, OpenDAP, Threads people. Sensors and sensor formats. So data coming from bathymetric surveying systems, from remotely operated vehicles, from satellites, sensors. 3D and 4D analysis and workflows, and that will include data models as well. Data distribution in terms of servers and services, especially the cloud and so forth. So those are going to be the topics for tomorrow. So just to let you know, don't try to get too heavy into all of these things today, because you'll be going through this whole process again tomorrow. And I'll be giving you just a short reminder tomorrow before we go into the breakouts about that, and I'll also give you your room assignments for tomorrow. But for today, let me put this back up. This is where people are. So are there any other questions about PMI, about what we would like you to try to accomplish over the next hour or so, hour and a half? Ooh, okay. I guess that was easy. Well, it's all meant to be easy. So, so have fun with it. And so we'll let you disperse now, find your way to your various rooms. Esri staff with your red ribbons, please assist our visitors where you can. And so please, Belinda has her hand up, and she will escort the marine geologists and geophysicists to the 3rd floor. So my thanks again. Sorry to get you out of your seats, but this will get your blood pumping, and hopefully it will be a lot of fun.